All right, we are live. Welcome to a quick little update here. I do say quick little update, but I don't know exactly how long it'll be. We're just going to cover basically the coins that we're looking at, but we haven't entered on, and discussing the recent price action that's happened. We've been holding a resistance on basically every single alt, not being able to get above a recent high, and we haven't entered. We haven't really taken any action. We're staying patient. We are sticking with our plan. We're not really going to be doing anything, but we do have our eyes open. We are interested because a lot of the alts have broken their descending trend line, creating or holding the price below a lower low or a lower high situation like we see on many of these charts here. So we'll go over 5 or 6 of the alts that we're looking at first on this page, and then we'll go to the top right and then talk about BTC a little bit. Not a whole lot to talk about on BTC. We've just basically been consolidating just above our major level of demand at around 95 to 9600, and then we've been seeing a little bit more buy volume coming, but still not really seeing that indication that we're going to be seeing the market structure shift. We've just been basically seeing lower highs and lower lows, but we are getting to a point where we're potentially seeing a nice little support here, but we don't really need to be jumping to conclusions in a way, and we want to be ensured that we will try to have the best possibility and the best probabilities to our advantage. And in order for us to have that, we need to make structure highs and lows, or at least make a potential higher high or a higher low before we look to enter on BTC. But this video is mainly talking about alts. The alts are looking a little bit better. We have broken our descending zone, so looking at TRX, Ethereum, BNB are some of the pairs that we are looking at for potential reversals and a potential move to the upside. We have TRX. We'll talk about them more in depth, but I just want to discuss what they are. You have Ethereum, like so, and then you also have BNB. So what makes them all similar? Let's just first go over BNB, and then we'll discuss a potential reason why. On the 15-minute and on the hour, you can see them as well. But you have a descending zone that the price was holding below for quite some time, creating lower highs. This was a high. The anchor point is not at that high. It's at like a 15-minute chart anchor point you can see right here. And then there was 1, 2 rejections, 3 rejections, 4 rejections. That for me is a pretty dependable area because we have 4 rejections of the price, really signaling that there are sellers in that zone. So now that the price has broken above this area, we are interested in a potential shift in trend, but we also want to marry this break of a descending trend line with a break in the market structure. And what would that look like? Well, we're looking for a higher high, higher low formation. Right now, we're just making a consolidation where we have a resistance keeping the price within a certain level or below a certain level. And then we also have a support where price is getting held up multiple times. We got 3 times there. Yes, there was a little bit of a push, but the buyers did bring it back up above the level of support. So we have a zone and we have a channel where we have a resistance and support. And we didn't want to just enter right at the breakout here because we knew of the potential of the market to go down for a bit and then sideways for a bit and then up for a bit. Sometimes, yes, it will go down and instantly back up, but because BTC is still not really making any clear signs of higher highs or higher lows or any real bullish trend or sentiment, we wanted to stay patient with entering long on the alts. We didn't want to jump in and rush and enter these alts because we don't have the right confirmations. We don't have enough validations within the market in order to justify having exposure to upside potential when we don't have really market higher highs and higher lows, which is really what we're looking for. So that's BNB. We'll look at some other pairs here. Ethereum is very similar. So we have also broken this key descending trend line. We can see that right here. This is the anchor point, and we see a first touch here with a really well-respected area, and then you see a second rejection. Don't really see too much of the third rejection, but you do see a nice level of confluence that is now currently respected as a nice level of support. Previous level of resistance here, as well as a nice level of support and resistance in the previous historic price action as well. So it's a nice valid area that we can depend on for a support. And then like we talked about in the previous chart, we are looking for a higher high. Now you can kind of battle that there was a candle closure here, and then this consolidation has a higher candle closure than the previous consolidation, which wasn't very long, but I'm going to play it a little bit safe, use key zones within the price action previously to kind of see the overall zone of where I'm looking for, not just a single price line. And I've kind of come to this conclusion there. So I am looking for the price to really show me that there's a higher high occurring. This is kind of the high that I'm looking at this wick, and then we also see nice levels of support here. So then I drew it at this zone. So I'm looking for the price to create a higher high, and then we're looking to potentially enter on the higher low. So the one good thing we already can see is we've broken above this descending trend line. That is number one check mark off. Now we're looking for potential moves to the upside. We are broken the trend, which is a good thing, but we're not just going to enter right away. The second thing is now we're looking for market structure to change, going from higher highs and higher lows. Going from lower highs to lower lows. That was what we were doing initially. So lower highs and lower lows, to then switching to then higher highs and higher lows. And we have a consolidation phase where we go from resistance to support, not really doing anything. And what we want to do is ensure that we're not entering at the resistance of this zone, and we're entering at the start of the higher highs and higher lows zone, which is the bullish momentum that we're looking to have. So that's the reason why we're wanting to wait, even though it broke the descending zone, which we can see this descending zone right here. That's the why we're not wanting to enter just like right when we see a pullback. We saw a pretty good confirmation that there's buyers with that candle right there. It did close bearish, but there was a big wick. If this was the body of the candle, we see a wick come all the way down here, signaling that there was sellers pushing the price down here, but the buyers picked it right back up, and then actually it was opened here and then started pushing the price all the way down, and then it actually opened here. But that does signal the level of buyers is there, and it is present. And then we see the second injection of buy volume coming again here. So we do have a level of buyers what we can depend on. But what I'm personally going to wait for, like in the other chart that we discussed, I'm going to wait for a structure market higher high, and then we're going to try to look for that entering on the higher low. So we're looking for a push, exhaustion. Once we see that confirmation that there's buyers and the exhaustion phase is potentially complete, then we will look to enter around this zone here. First level take profit maybe around here to here with a risk reward minimum of 2 to 1, and then we'll look for other take profits above that area. So we're still looking long. We are still not wanting to look short just yet. BTC, in my opinion, still looks like it's in the exhaustion phase of a bullish trend, and I don't think that bullish trend is complete just yet. So it's my bias. If I start to see the shift trend, or if I start to see the trend shift, not the shift trend, if I start to see it shift, then I will look to gain some short side exposure. But at this point in time, I'm not really looking for that at this very moment. I'm looking for longs for the most part. So we discussed BNB. We'll discuss TRX. We got a similar type of structure here, and then XRP also is kind of a similar type of structure. So a lot of these alts are looking similar in the price action. Link has a little bit different story, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We also want to discuss TRX because that's also another one that we are looking at. Very similar, basically. So let's just discuss the market structure here. So we got a descending trend line that's connecting the lower highs. This is an anchor point right there. And then we see the price really respect this zone. And then we see another validation of a zone right here. So that's 3 touches, which makes it a potentially dependable zone. And then this 4th touch makes it a very dependable zone that we can use to potentially risk off of. So then now that we have broken above this zone, and we've closed above it. So now we have a potential break in trend. So that for me is the first signal. Yep, that could be a potential break in trend. We're also now looking for market structure shifts. We do see a resistance here, but I do see a rejection here as well. So what I did is just kind of make a zone where resistance is going to be, and we haven't broken it yet. And then we also have another zone where it's the bottom of the top of this wick is the bottom of the zone, and then I could put it a little bit lower, but we can see that there's a major level of support here, major level of support here. I wanted to kind of indicate that there could be a little level of resistance at that point, but not worried to long, because the true real resistance I think is going to be here, and that's a risk reward I'm very willing to take on. So we'll see how it goes. Similar structure. Ideally, it'd be nice to see a nice higher high hit this zone, maybe yet again. That would be really good, because then we are testing this as a level of resistance, like so, and then we could potentially see that nice higher low come in, test this previous resistance as a new level of support. So that's the overall structure that we're wanting to see. So we're wanting to see the price hold above this zone and then actually touch this gray area, and then we want to see the price come back and test these previous levels of resistances as new levels of support, seeing nice candles touching this zone, and then hopefully see a move up, and then even if we validate this zone for a nice level of support, that would be ideal. And then we push up to make former newer higher highs and higher lows, and then continue the trend up from there. So that would be the ideal situation. We'll see how it goes. We won't be entering just yet. We need to see confirmation that there's buyers in the market. And at this point in time, I don't really see that. So I'm not going to be entering just yet. There are some things that need to be done before we actually enter. Ethereum does look a little bit better, getting a little bit more buy volume. BNB, not so much. XRP, very, very similar. We do have a high here, but I think I'm just mainly trying to get above this range here, and then we'll see how the market reacts. Because there's also this zone here that ideally would be nice to get above, but then we'll see if it pumps up quite significantly. Then obviously that pullback zone is going to be around this area. But then if we don't get that strong bullish push and we kind of start slowly climbing, maybe we can get some higher lows for a nice ascending trend line, and then we can manage our risk that way. We'll see how the price action unravels, but at this very moment, there's not as much to do on XRP, but BNB looks pretty good. For market structure, potential move to the upside, Ethereum as well as TRX. And then looking a little bit in different parts of the market, I'm just going to be looking at Ethereum there, even though I have it on my other monitor. So I have Atom and Cardano. So let's look at Cardano first and then talk about Atom. So we got some nice lower highs here. We got the anchor point right here. We have a nice key area where resistance held, and then we got another rejection point. This is 3 touches, making it a potentially dependable zone. And then now we got our third rejection with the zone of confluence there with the resistance area, giving it even more validation that yes, this is a dependable zone. So we haven't broken it yet, but if it does break, that is our first market structure, and we got a pretty easy identifiable resistance that we need to pass in order to have the market structure shift, which is going to be this area right here. So we need the price to break this area and then retest hopefully this zone, if not some level of support there as a validation of a new level of support, and then that will form the higher low, because this is a current higher low than here, right here. So then if we do get a bullish push here and then we get a higher low kind of like this, then we can look to potentially enter here. First level TP may be this descending trend line. Hopefully that's a risk reward of 2 to 1. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll have take profits higher up above that area. So that is how we're going to be playing Cardano. Not bad in terms of the TA. It looks pretty good. The only thing is there's not a lot of buy volume. There's a lot of sell pressure within the market compared to some of the other alts that we've seen. Atom, you can see, does have more buy volume recently, especially after it hit its major support area. And overall, we don't see a whole lot of buy pressure within the market. But what's interesting is if we switch to the 4-hour, we can see a pretty significant shift in the amount of buy pressure. So we can see BNB, quite a bit of sell pressure here, quite a bit of sell pressure here, a little bit more volume distribution, I would say. Ethereum, there was quite a bit more sell pressure within the actual drops, but recently we have been seeing more buy pressure within the consolidation phase. So just looking at just the consolidation, we do see that there's more buy pressure, but looking at the overall market, the sellers definitely are present, and it's a little bit more volume distribution. Although we can't just consider the volume as our source of information, we have to look at both price action and the volume bars. So it's also something to consider. Also looking at Tron with the 4 hour. You see not much buy volume, definitely a little bit more sell pressure with the move to the downside. We do see that there was a significant amount of buy volume that occurred right there. But we can see that this is kind of the last area for potential support. And if we do get the bulls to come back up above here, that's definitely going to be a potential first level for a resistance zone. And then obviously if we get up there, that'll probably be our first level of take profit. But looking at the 4 hour and the daily in the larger time frames for a lot of these alts, we can see that we are basically right at major key levels of supports. We can see right here how significant this zone is within the chart. So let's just go like this. So our area was right around here. So this is just for one pair, and we can zoom out on all of them, but we can see this zone right here was our key area. So we're right at that zone right now, and we can see it was a major support here back in the start of 2019 before we got a lift off and formed some very significant higher highs and higher lows. And then after we broke it, we actually had a major rejection at that point before we did break it. Once we did break it though, we did reject off as a major level of resistance multiple times with key rejections in late 2019. And then we broke it recently, and now it looks like we are testing as a nice new level of support. Kind of like we saw here. Look at this situation we had here. We saw the price push up to try to form a new high. It did. It pulled back. Just give me one more. I gotta sneeze here. All right. Sorry about that. So we had a push, held this previous resistance, pulled back, and then we broke that previous resistance. What did we need to do? We needed to validate it as a nice new level of support. That's exactly what we did. And then we made another up move and saw some more higher highs and higher lows. Kind of similar situation we see right here, except for we didn't see much of a consolidation behind it, but now we are seeing a consolidation with a pullback, and then now we're at this zone here, and potentially we will see that another move up, because like we always know, previous levels of resistance equal new levels of support. So that's the major key that we're looking at right there, as well as all in basically 2019. We see it as a major support as well. So on the daily chart, very valid zone, very happy with using that as my dependable area that will potentially hold the price while I look for long opportunities. And then zooming in, I might be a little bit messy here on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour. I think what I am going to do is delete this, just to make it a little bit cleaner. I think that's basically the best structure it can be shown in, because we can see that it's very well respected as a support here. And this is just one of the alts, and a lot of the alts are looking similar. We see a nice strong level of support, hold multiple times, creating higher lows. We can see that right here, which means that there is an indication of more buy pressure within the market. And we see higher lows, higher low, higher lows, and then we see a kill candle, really showing a lot of sell pressure and a decent amount of sell pressure within the market, shown in the volume candles there as well. So that was a kill candle that initially dropped the price down, and then we had some momentum to the downside. We initially respected our previous level of resistance as a nice level of support right here, and then we did fall down below it, and then we're now testing this previous resistance as a new level of resistance again. So we do have some strong resistance ahead of us, but mainly what we're looking for is a market structure higher high, and then we're going to speculate that this higher low will hold once we have price action confirmation. So I'm talking about bullish engulfing candles, pin bars, looking for something related to that, double bottoms with a break of the resistance, and then that will be a potential market structure higher high, and then we're looking for a higher low, like so, and then the price will potentially move towards the upside. So we're incorporating market structure as well as price action, as well as volume, as well as top-down analysis using multiple time frames. So a lot of confluences within this chart. So we have a individual here on the YouTube chats say, Todd, say check out, will you look at Neo BTC? So I don't really look at BTC pairs, I mainly look at USD pairs, just because it's more stable and I don't have to look at two assets that are kind of correlated move together. Just makes more sense to trade one or trade a pair that one asset is stable, so you only really need to be trading one asset. And if both assets are going to be moving in the same direction, especially if they're correlated, like Ethereum BTC, it might, in my opinion, it might be worth trading something that's a little bit more volatile, because if something's stationary and then, for example, if Ethereum is skyrocketing, you'll be able to catch more volatility than if BTC and Ethereum are both moving up at the same time. Just some food for thought. But yeah, sure, let's do it. So on the weekly, I probably won't put this in the live, but we got a key level right there. Definitely easily understand that zone. And then we got a key zone right around here. So the resistance is going to be 1728. Support's going to be 1218. And then you got mid-range zones on the daily, I'm sure. But let's just look at it right now. A little bit messy. I don't love it. We'll just kind of discuss the ranges that we have within the smaller time frames. But all we really need to know is that there's a pretty key level of resistance at this zone. And we'll probably just put two areas just so we kind of have a range, and two areas for the demand zone as well, so we kind of have a range as well. And then we'll probably put a mid-range zone when we look at the 4 hour. And then get a nice little area of resistance right there, which probably will look like a nice level of support. Also going to look at it from the daily just to confirm my ranges are correct. So I'm going to put it to the body of the daily, to basically the candles there. So pretty wide range. I could sneak it up a little bit here. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then we'll discuss on the 4 hour. So I'm pretty happy with that range. Previous level of resistance, now it's going to be a new level of support. We did get some candles to drop below this level of support, but overall it still does look like it is holding this area. On the volume, we do see that major candle there has the most amount of volume, which is a bearish candle, but surprisingly, we don't see nearly as much volume in the actual major bearish candle compared to what we saw on the smaller one. But could be a potential, but I'm not really loving just that small descending trend line. Let's zoom in on the 1 hour chart to discuss more of the granular details, what we're able to find. So we got a nice little trend line here. Let's just see where that can go. So we got a potential pullback that's being validated for a new level of support right now. Actually, let's just make that red because it was a previous level of resistance. And we'll put a nice projection at this zone as well. My projection does not seem to be working. There we go. So this would be my analysis for NEO. So we basically broke to the upside. Let's look at the 4 hour. This is our key zone, this gray area. This is a buy area where we know that the buyers are going to be located. We did break below this zone for a little bit, but now we are above back at the zone for a potential nice area for a buy. We pushed above our descending zone and we pulled back. We validated. We are now getting our first injection of buy volume on the 1 hour chart. We do see that there is more sell volume than buy volume, so that's something to consider for sure. But overall, it does still look like a potential. Might see some hesitation at these zones, and then depending on your risk reward, you might want to be taking profits at the next supply zone, which we can see by the white lines, and definitely by the key level of support and resistance there. That's going to be a zone that you want to consider for a level to take profit. But that's analysis. Just even looking at take profits and stop losses and whatnot. I definitely have my stop loss below this area. I only see one injection of buy volume, so I'd wait until 2 if you are entering this personally. So you would want to see a pullback to validate this zone again as a level of support. And then once you see that nice injection of buy volume for the second time, you probably want to enter. Stop loss below the recent low, first level, take profit. You'll probably be able to get a 2-to-1 risk reward if you're going to hit that first level, take profit at the recent high. That's pretty good, maybe 25-50% depending on how much you think it's going to be ranging versus how much you think it's going to start to trend up. And then the next major level take profit you want to be hitting is around here, and that'd be a risk reward of like 4.1 or 4-to-1 or 4.5-to-1 depending on kind of how far you want to stretch it. And that would probably be the overall trade plan that I would have. But obviously we still need that second injection of buy pressure in order to kind of really signal that there's confident level of buy pressure within the market. Yeah, no problem, Todd. That is not a problem. I'm basically done the analysis at this point, so I'll timestamp, I guess what you call the analysis for the alts that we're actually going to be looking at. But for anyone else watching, I'll open it up to questions for anyone who may have a question about trading, about the analysis, about what we're going to enter, anything of that nature. We are going to start to kind of have these more as unlisted videos because right now we are doing them public, which is great because we're getting people to get involved, to ask questions, to understand what we're doing, to kind of get the word out, which is great. But I don't think that we will be producing these lives for free forever. I don't exactly know how the time frame is going to go about that, but yeah, like we do this every single day. I try to change up the times a little bit. Like for example, I'll do TikToks a little bit later at night, and then what I will do is YouTube lives in the morning and then in the midday sort of. So I try to kind of get the whole day. I'll do it in the morning and afternoon for more YouTube lives, and then for nighttime it's more TikTok. So I try to kind of get like morning, afternoon, and nighttime. But I don't really see any more questions coming in, so I'm going to cut it there. Thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate you being in our community if you are, and for watching and taking the time to use our content or learning about our content or kind of consume our content in some shape or fashion. So we hope you have a good rest of the week, and we will see you tomorrow or hear with you or see your comments or whatever tomorrow if you tune in. So hope you have a good one.